Welcome back to Just in Our Minds. This is Justin. I'm here with a dear friend of mine. I met in 2000, and let's say like 2014. We've known each other for a while.
We could do that.
Yeah.
More 10 years.
It's over 10 years.
Yeah.
Because that was when I was in Utah County. So other than this man being a modern day Viking, he came up through the ranks, a Division I football player, pro MMA fighter, black belt in jiu-jitsu, general contractor, and now inventor of the HUNKERIN stool. Thanks for being here, brother.
Justin, thank you very much. I'm excited to do your podcast.
So this is my boy Kasey.
And really quick to get going with this. So I was back at the gym at back this time it was probably Gold's Gym. It's down Vasa here in Utah. And Justin was hitting a heavy bag. And I at that point in time had a pretty good idea of striking. And a lot of people that you see at the gym striking a bag don't know how to strike. So I saw this guy whipping some pretty decent punches, and here we are now.
Here we are now.
It
just so happens we had a lot of passed across with Ben Hatfield and that small tight-knit group. Because when I first moved to Utah, that's what it was I was training at the CrossFit gym that he shared with what's his name? Tyson.
Down in Springfield.
Yeah, that was such a great gym.
And so we do strongman Saturdays.
And then there was a heavy Olympic lifting there and a bunch of CrossFit.
Yeah.
I sold my car to move to Utah, and I used to skateboard in the snow to get there, like over those two bridges because I lived near that Walmart. And
of course you do.
It was so hot and I was too embarrassed to mention anything until one of the moms there, she's like, "Wait a minute. You skateboard here? It is 32 degrees outside." And I'm like, "Well, I have to get my CrossFit in."
Yeah.
I was doing construction during the day there.
Mm-hmm.
I realized I wasn't a man when it comes to snow and construction.
Not from Santa Barbara County.
No. I just stare at my hands when I'm on top of a non-bearing wall that has ice on it. And I'm like, why am I here?
Those are good days.
Yeah.
Well,
where's your story start, brother? Like,
so going back to the...
Oh, you born?
So born in Orem, Utah.
Okay.
And my whole life, I've been able to go balls to the wall. It's been an extreme adventure. And along the way, though, being extreme and going, when I used to train, it was every time I walked in the gym, my goal was either one more pound or one more rep. No programming, no deloading. And it worked until it didn't work. And then from lifting heavy weights, and then
was it sports specific? Like, what did you grow up playing sports, or was it just like an itch that you needed to scratch from early?
Yeah. So when I was 8 years old, I was in second grade, and my second grade teacher had 100-mile club, where if you ran 100 miles that year, you got a T-shirt. And I was like, can't be bothered. But then a girl got her shirt, and I was like, well, I can't let that slide. And so since halfway through 8th grade, every day I would run a mile, and then I would do my push-ups and sit-ups when I came home. My dad got me doing my push-ups and sit-ups. And then the time I started, it was basketball season. I played junior jazz. And so I had to shoot 100 baskets every day. And I would be out there going back to the cold. And my dad had set up a little basic basketball standard outside. And my little fingers would crack from the cold and the salt from the sidewalk, but I'd shoot my 100 baskets. And so I didn't realize that that's not what you do when you're 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I did. And so then ever since I was 8 years old, I've had to train, I've had to lift weights. But doing that, I didn't know how to train, even though I thought I did. And I got really big, really strong when I was a true freshman at the University of Hawaii. Back then, we were the Rainbow Warriors, and I was a warrior. I'll tell you what. And I was the strongest guy on the football team, and just so much strength, so much speed. And I actually got to the point where I was born with an F1 engine, but I took that car drag racing with no owner's manual.
So you're on top of that too. you're like one of those the LS swaps because you're in like an off road vehicle.
Yeah. And basically, and then took that F1 engine,
Yeah.
not drag racing, but took it digging in the back. We call it digging, four-wheel and the navigation.
Exactly.
And I literally blew my transmission. I over the years I slowly broke down my body, and we could go into that now or later. But along the way though, with my background in MMA,
How'd you get in? So so when did you start MMA? So did you start football in high school?
so yeah. So when I was a little boy, I fell in love with football, and I loved the physicality of it. Like I am a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a Thor's hammer right here, and so I've always prided myself on being the hammer, not the nail. And so football was a great way, and it kept me from a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom and dad at one point in time came up to me in high school and they said, well, we're not going to be able to afford you to go to college, but we know you're kind of a savage. So we're going to pay for you to go to the gym. And I was a courier. I'd run my mom's work back and forth in high school. She was a medical transcriptionist. So I'd take her work and I'd go and train at the gym every day for 2 hours. And they said, if you keep training and you get a scholarship to play football, that's your trajectory. So they helped to support me and do all that. So I fell in with football. And then when I was playing college football, I was super strong and I got muscle bound. I got too strong and I was lifting weights like a power lifter. I would pick up cars and spin them to mess with people, park cars.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, it was like a circus trick, but then I was also able to run a 4.740 and jump like a deer, and I'm white. And it was just like, all I did was train. And so I got so stiff. So when I would run in football at spring football, I would cut and I grip my groin or I'd shear off my hip flexor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was constantly pulling my groins and my hip flexors. And so, and then in the early 90s, mid 90s, I saw my first UFC fight. A guy named Royce Gracie came out and choked out all these big giant monsters. And I was like, well, I don't want to do Taekwondo. I don't want to do karate. And I'd wrestled a little bit in high school. And I was like, well, this is something I need to do. So because I got strong, I needed something to work on my mobility and flexibility. So I started jiu-jitsu back in 1997.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my wife was born in 1993. So I don't know. I got a little old along the way somehow.
Two of your favorite things, huh?
Yeah.
So 90s is
the 90s was a good time for me.
How old were you in? So what you were what in your early 20s?
I was 20.
20. I was gonna say
So I'm 49. So I've almost been doing jiu-jitsu for 30 years.
That's wild. That's a long time.
So I forgot more jiu-jitsu than I've learned.
Right, and then
No.
It's just changing. It's so crazy.
And but you know what's so funny is that it changes and evolves, but then it goes back from the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And so my jiu-jitsu is it's a hybrid of my coach who gave me, his name is Brandon Ruiz, and it's Ruiz combat grappling through the Machados, Regan Machado. And so he went to college and wrestled for BYU, and then he trained at the Olympic Training Center with Rulon Gardner, who beat Alex Karelin.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a hybrid of folk style wrestling, Greco wrestling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, catch wrestling. Brandon's also a black belt in judo and sambo, Russian sambo.
Oof.
So everything that has to do with submission grappling. So I consider myself a martial artist who practices jiu-jitsu, but is more of a submission grappler. And that's probably way too long.
No, that's great. This is what we're here for. We got time.
So I started taking jiu-jitsu to work on my mobility so I could become more of a savage to play football. But I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. I fell in like a duck to water. I was just like, I really like grabbing people and choking them out.
How is the difference in training moving from football where you're very explosive, everything's pretty quick for the most part? I mean, apparently I don't know there's technique and different things there too, but how is the difference switching from football to jiu-jitsu, wrestling, grappling, that style? Was there a transition? Was there a gap for you?
Yeah, so complete the story really quick is, so I was playing college football, and then I came back from LDS mission and was playing football for the University of Utah. And I was plagued by injuries. I'd taken 2 years off to go on an LDS mission. And so I thought I could come back, seamless transition, because I was still big and strong, but I'd lost 2 years that I didn't realize. And so I went so hard trying to get back to where I was that I was just plagued by injuries. And then at that point in time, I was kind of tired of football. So in football, you need one ball to play, but to fight, you need two balls.
Very true. Very true.
So I was like, I'm tired of football, and I was a defensive lineman. And so my thing was, as soon as the ball snaps, I was gone. Fast twitch. So as soon as that ball snaps, I would just unleash like a drag racing car, like I said before, just boom off the line. And I had really quick reactions, but then that didn't really. So then I was tired of football, so I dropped out. This was now in the early 2000s, and I dropped out of college football to go do MMA. And at that point in time, here in the state of Utah, it was illegal. There was no state athletic, even though I'd been going for a few years by that point in time.
It was human cockfighting, I think.
Human cockfighting, and Senator John McCain called it that. And he was with the boxing constituents, and they didn't want MMA to evolve what it became today, which is it won boxing by a landslide now. But so I was like, I gotta go fight. I just gotta go fight. And so it was NHB back then. They called it no holds barred. And so we'd fight in bars, and it was so much fun. But I should have, hindsight being 2020, I should have took a few years and actually learned how to fight. I had a little background in a little bit of striking. I learned a little bit of boxing and a little bit of Muay Thai, and I knew a little bit of jiu-jitsu. And so I just jumped into MMA. And hindsight being 2020, I should have spent a couple of years learning how to fight, because the quick, explosive reactions of football and the explosiveness and it didn't correlate well to MMA and wrestling and like setting up a shot. So going back to my Viking ancestry, my ancestors would have been considered shield wall breakers. The berserkers.
Yep, I was gonna say
the Ulfhedmars. Those are Viking special forces, and they were the frontline battle troops that would run through the shield wall. Just let them out, let them off the leash, and bang,
jacked on Argon.
Yes. And they eventually became outlawed, the berserkers, but that's a whole other podcast. So I never figured out how to use to set it up at the right time.
But it's hard because football's with seconds, a couple minutes, and then you got depending on back then too, you had like 10-minute rounds.
Yeah,
for MMA.
So I never got to actually I fought a guy named Shane Carwin at the Honolulu Blaze Del Arena. And Shane went on to become the UFC interim heavyweight champ when a guy named Brock Lesnar was out with some health issues.
Biggest hands ever. And yes, they had a triple XL or quadruple XL.
Whatever. He had giant mitts. And so I took a fight with like a 10-day notice. They couldn't find somebody to fight him. I was over there working construction on the Big Island. And I was like, I talked to a few guys around trying to find an MMA gym. And they're like, hey, we got a fight in Honolulu. We want to fly over to Honolulu to fight this guy. And I'm like, sure. I haven't had a fight for a few years. And back then it was really hard finding fights. And so I took a fight. I fought Shane Carwin. He caught me in a head and arm choke. And I thought I should be able to get out of it. I passed out. So
he had a wrestling background.
Yes, yeah. And so my Achilles heel was my wrestling background. So once again, I kind of jumped into with Shane Carwin too fast. He grabbed a hold of me, got me in the head and arm choke, and I passed out. So I never quite was able to ever tap in or fully get to be able to express my full athletic prowess and my full potential. And so it's always plagued me my whole life. And so that's one of the reasons why it always goes so hard, is because I was always trying to like make it to that next level. But nevertheless, Chris Ledoux says it's best. I'd rather take 10 seconds in the saddle than a lifetime in the stands.
100%.
And so I've had a fun time going to some rodeos with MMA, college football, strongman competitions. And now I get to take all of that information of smashing and hammering my body over these years, and it's led me to the invention of this hunkerin stool.
No, the HUNKERIN stool's amazing. We skipped over one part. Like, what got you? So from MMA, then you went to strongman.
Yes.
Yes, and that really beats you up. Well, I feel like compared to MMA, like just powerlifting, strength, because that's around the time when you were still doing competing. Because that was 14 years ago. You were in your 30s, right?
Yeah.
And it's a strongman, man. I can only imagine because it's very it's an amazing sport, but it's 2 dimensional when it comes to the lifts, right? You're kind of pant, you're doing very specific, lots of bracing and
And that was the problem
heavy
too.
loads.
And at this point in time in my life, I had gone through some really bad setbacks. I had some really bad financial um disasters. At one point in time in 2008, back then I was a general contractor and the market collapsed. And at that point in time, I'd been living a pretty good life. I traveled all summers through Europe and just blew all my money training and just partying and run around Europe like a wild man. And I'd run out of money. I'd come home and build another house and go do it again. But then after that, my construction career ended. Uh, I had a really bad hard rock bottom. And from the partying, which was at that point in time, like more of a social, I just like to get out. I'm a wild guy. I love to get out and have a wild time. It got to the point where I actually fell into some really deep, dark pits and deep, dark holes. And there's a term I've heard called the dark night of the soul.
Yep.
I had years.
Same, I get it.
Years.
Say it on too, because you were created in chaos. Like you thrive in chaos. So
Yeah.
like football, MMA, like
Well, and then the head trauma.
Yep.
The concussions of high school football, college football, MMA, and then the drinking. Oof, it was just,
you're looking for something to make you feel normal, right? It's hard to be in a room by yourself sometimes.
and I love action. I fought for fun. I fought in a cage for fun. It's hard for me to sit at home and play tiddlywink.
Yes, because you're not built for it. You're built for destruction, whether it's your own destruction through habit.
And as I luckily I'm still here.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And so it was, but so back then, and so I was still able to use the training to keep me going. But at that point in time, I still was trying to do some MMA, and then I started doing strongman with it, and drinking, and working construction, and I just broke down.
And I'm sure too, because you're a go-getter, so you always have that like shadow of the 20-year-old, 30-year-old version of this and the berserker and this. You're like, dang, and then the Shane Carwin and all, because that's around the time that he's popping up high.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I was
So you see that.
if I could just stay healthy and keep it together. But I was too far gone at that point in time. I was too broken down. I was too chaotic, and I fell into a pit, and then after that, this is another sad thing. I lost both. I lost both sight of both my eyes. I had to get 2 cornea transplants.
Oh my gosh.
So not only
Has that been fighting?
So fighting, staying up all night,
Okay.
working construction with sand and debris and sawdust in my eyes.
Dan's glass all and
So I had a disease called keratoconus, which actually runs in. It's part of being a Scandinavian. It's a high occurrence of Scandinavians develop keratoconus, where your cornea slowly thins and crowns into a cone. And so it slowly degenerated my cornea. So at the one point in time, I had to have special contacts made that were very expensive. And then after I lost my business, I then worked in another business out in Vernal developing the Utah oil sands. That was a wild ride. And we were able to pull some oil out of the Utah oil sand deposits. We had partnered up with Penn State and Dr. Paul Painter at their material science program. And he had developed an ionic liquid. And because of the charges of the ions, he was able to break the chain from the heavy bitumen, the heavy oil that was attached to the sand. And it was completely environmental friendly. It was going to be amazing. And at this point in time, a barrel of oil was $120. And I had a giant giant investor that would build and sell power plants in California. And he's like, Kasey, I can't believe you're trying to pull this off, but here we go. And so he backed and my dad is a professional engineer that designed the plants, and I had a background in construction. So we helped build the plant, and then we partnered with Dr. Paul Painter, the material science program from Penn State, and then we had a really, really wealthy individual that was going to pay for it all. And we had cracked the code. I had 5,000 acres of oil sand leases from Sitla that we had allocated to go and develop the Utah oil sands. And the price of barrel went from $120 to $2 or $8 or whatever. So my investor pulled out, everything collapsed. And then I woke up one day and my eye was on fire. And I was like, what the hell is going on? So I go to the Instacare, no insurance, by the way.
Okay. So those are not cheap.
So yeah, so I go to Instacare, like, oh bro, you have to go see an eye doctor. So I go to the eye doctor, like, oh, you've now developed acute corneal hydrops. I think that was a term where my cornea had finally had so much pressure on it that it popped. And it caused my eye to fill up with fluid.
Oh.
So my eye now looked like I was looking through a fogged up shower.
Oh my gosh.
And because it crowned, my cornea was gone, I couldn't put a contact on it. And it literally felt like you had like a piece of, like a sliver in your eye.
Oh my gosh.
And the light, I was like, oh shit. And so I had to go get on a cadaver list. Had to wait for a month or so to get a transplanted cornea on my left eye. And so they go in there and they cut off your cornea. They sew on a new cornea with a third of the dimension of a human hair stitch.
I was gonna say, like, that sounds wild.
And so then I was eating Loratabs like Skittles. I don't want to go into all the drugs I used to take.
It's a big body. There's left to rib.
So anyways, my stomach isn't what it once was.
Yeah.
Anyways, so stay away from drugs, kids. And so and my eyes was weak. So and then 2 months later, so I got a new eye here, a new cornea hair. Couldn't see out of it. And then 2 months later, I was on 4th of July, I was at my mom's house, and my right eye just went out on me. I was like, what the hell? So I went home to go take a nap, go to bed. Woke up the next day, eyes gone and fogged up. So now I could barely see out of my new cornea here, 2,200, and now my right eye's gone. So I had to get on another cadaver list. I had to go get another corneal transplant. And so that set me back.
And at that point, you can't drive or do much.
So I couldn't drive. I couldn't train.
Oh.
Because if I bared down, I popped the stitches off. And it was $10,000 an eye, no insurance, no money, no job. And it was rough. It was rough. It was sad days. And I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Yeah.
And so along that ride, though, I learned how to build. I learned how to repair my body. And then at this point in time, I've gotten older and I'd seen the squatty potty. And with my background in MMA and yoga, I realized that it's the deep squat is a fundamental pose. And at this point in time, I also had, in playing college football, was the first time I crushed my L4, my L5 disc, to the point where when I was running, my leg wouldn't work. I was like, what the hell is I thought I was just a wuss. Like my back hurt all the time, but everything hurts, even football. But when I was running, my leg wasn't working. So I go to the doctor and they said, hold your toe up. And I couldn't hold my foot up. I had no dorsal flexion because the sciatic nerve.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah. So I had assistance in my sciatic nerve. So it wasn't, so I actually destroyed the biomechanical aspect of my body, which collapsed my spine, which bulged the disc, which then herniated and blew up into the sciatic nerve, which then shut down my left leg and it started atrophy. Yeah, and my left foot couldn't hold up. And that's when I was still playing college football. So at this point in time, I was like, I'm done with football. So I took a break, got my back somewhat better, and I started MMA. After they wanted to do back surgery, and they said, you should never lift weights. You shouldn't do anything anymore. And I was like, yeah, well,
that's like, no,
you don't know. And I'm a Viking.
Yeah.
We don't stop.
Yeah.
And so over the years, though, this was back in 2022 when I had these bulged discs. herniated disc. And what is it now? 2025?
Yep.
Was that?
About to be 2026.
How many years is that?
You said 22?
2002.
Oh, 2002. What's that? That's coming up on, like, is that 8? No,
20 something years.
20 something years.
Yeah, 23 years.
23 years.
Maybe I'm not good at math.
No, 23. Yeah, 20.
So for 23 years, I've been dealing with low back pain and hurt and bulged and herniated disc. And so I can't sit. Even right now, I'm trying to lean back and try to like ease so I'm not smashing my discs. And so I knew the importance of a deep squat. And my grandpa, when I was a little kid, had a milking stool. And he took me out there to go milk a cow. And we're down in a lower position, not maybe quite a full deep squat, but I was like, oh, if I could, but I was too big. At this point in time, I'm 330 pounds. I'm old, I'm worn out, I'm beat up. And I'm like, I need something to help me rest comfortably in a deep squat. And so I had a light bulb moment come off that I need springs on a milking stool. And so right now we sell modified milking stools to help people rest in a deep squat.
Yeah, 100%. Get
Yeah.
that.
So that's kind of a long story back to the short story of how I came up with it.
No, it's great. And how many variations of the hunkering stool did you go through?
Oh wow. So so I'm not actually an inventor. Well, so you know what that is? I am, right? So I was a builder and I lifted weights and I fought in cages. And but I was like, I gotta build this. And so like it took me years and multiple prototypes, lots of mistakes. I think I have it and I don't. And I first wanted to try to do an injection mold to get this injection molded, but I never had enough money to buy the mold. And I never was able to figure out a way to secure the springs into it. And so eventually I went to a cabinet shop, had a rough design, and he would cut out the plywood. And then I was able to figure out a way to secure the springs with these spring retention plates and secure these 3 conical compression springs down into the stool. And then the reasons why I go with these 3 conical compression springs, because right now this is really easy to do. But now as it gets up here, like this, and it gets higher up in the coil, this is virtually impossible to break these down with 3. And so depending on how much you weigh, you're able to sink down and find a good resting spot to take the strain off of your hips, knees, and ankles so you can rest comfortably in a deep squat. And then the 3 conical compression springs allow you to move in a 360 degrees and go forwards, backwards, side to side. And I can't believe it. And so the first year I built these at a cabinet shop. Everyone that come out, I had to take it out of the 4x8 sheet of plywood, cabinet grade plywood. And I'd have to sand the edges, router the edges, and then countersink for my screws. And so I built in 2024, I built over 1,000 stools out of my garage. And we ended up selling 1,500 stools that year, 2024. And this year we're going to double that.
Amazing. Because I remember seeing you at FitCon once you have prototype.
And so I got in a car accident in 2000.
I was going to say that was the
23
in your Raptor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
My Raptor got totaled.
Yeah.
A guy ran a red light, slammed into me. Talk about if he would have hit the side, he hit the front of my Raptor, ripped off the front end of my truck. Totaled my Ford Raptor, which was my dream car. I fool Eddie, God rest my Raptor. He's in a better place now. And so once again, at that point in time, I was dealing with some bulge discs, went to herniated discs. So once again, my back was shot after a severe car accident, which totaled my car. That was really rough. The airbags hit me in my face, totaled my truck. Then I lost my job. So I lost my car. Sorry, I lost my job prior to that. Then I lost my truck. And my wife and I have been working on this. My wife said, let's go to FitCon and see if we can sell any. So I was able to make 20 prototypes. At that point in time, there's still prototypes. And we went to FitCon, and in 2 days, we sold all of them, and everybody loved it. And I was like, oh, geez.
We got something.
So here we go. And so then I went on from that, and I dropped some off to Mark Bell and it's SEMA. Mark Bell, Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, 'cause we met up at in Lehigh, I think, and you was you're like, what's your like? What do you view on this? And I was like, I think I guided you to a couple people in
Yeah.
Jigsaw.
You've been helping me out this whole time, bouncing ideas, and you're an entrepreneur and a go-getter and a body specialist. I wouldn't just consider you a personal trainer, by the way.
Yeah,
For full functional training. More than just like, oh, do 3 sets of 10,
yeah,
your squat technique looks good.
yeah.
You're way far gone past that, by the way. So yeah, it's been a fun ride, man. It's been a fun ride.
No, it's been great, and just like it's so funny because his first podcast he did was Mark Bell's podcast. With Mark Bell has millions of listeners. Yeah, first podcast he's ever done.
I
But you
somehow
told me, I was like, dude, I think it's Seaman, these guys, like you should figure out how to get a hold of them. And then I don't know how you got
so my wife's family's from Vacaville,
Yeah.
which is outside.
Seattle. Go there.
So we went down there in 2023. We'd gone there for Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
and I finally figured out for Hungry. So it was the still one I was making at the cabinet shop, and it wasn't as sleek as this yet. It's still had a few tweaks I had to make, and I dropped one off at the gym. It was on a Monday. Thanksgiving was on that Thursday. Nobody was there. They had one guy at the gym, and I dropped it off with a little note. And
So this is probably around the same time.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And so I was like, it was after FitCon, because after FitCon, I had to figure out a way to make it so somebody could make this at home. Because I was still making it in my garage. It was taking me a half hour to build each store. I'm like, I'm never going to make any money if it takes me a half hour to assemble. So anyways, I had to redesign the whole thing and get it so that the consumer can eventually put it together. So now there's this 6 little bolts that secure these spring retention plates in. And it's pretty simple.
It's kind of fun too, because then they love it more because they built it, right?
Yeah. So I'm customer service. We've now sold thousands and thousands of stools on customer service. And about once a month, somebody calls me up. They're like, I'm having difficulty assembling the stool. I'm like, that's okay. I get out my FaceTime. I show them how to do it, and they put it together. But then about every 2 weeks, somebody calls me up and tells me how much they love my stool. And I get emotional because I'm like, I can't believe that I've been able to create a product that can help people and that people actually buy, so humble, and that they enjoy. And that goes back to like my martial arts background. And there's a Japanese term called ikigai. And it's a 4-tiered circle where you find something that you're good at. And I'm good at building stuff, and I'm somewhat good at advanced stuff. And you find something you're passionate about. Well, I love doing this stuff, and I love health and fitness. Then you find something that you could maybe make some money at, and you find something that can help out people or help out the world. And so I have been able, it's so blessed to actually like find a way to live an ikigai work. So like, this is a work, this is a job, but this is a passion. And so like, it's like, I get to come on a podcast with my buddies, and talk about my life and this stool. And so it's not really work. It's just living. It's trying to live my best life and support my family and try to help people out along the way.
And it's something you can be proud of. It's like, there's so much consuming out there. Like we were talking about over the last podcast, like people like me, you, Andrew, we create. He dances, he produces, he helps create. He has so many avenues, like connecting people. Same with you. And you had every chance in the world to just say, fuck it, fuck life, but fuck this, fuck that. I keep getting fucked. I keep doing this. You're a big, strong guy that said, you know what? God, give me some hard, I don't know if you believe in like soul contracts. Like your soul knew what kind of life you were going to have.
Well, that's a great way to go to down here is, I do believe in a God, and I do believe that we are here on this realm to transcend our ego. So I don't know how much time we have.
We have time.
But
we're here to.
But so I believe there is a God, the God of all gods, who created this universe. To when, and I have no idea. But I do believe that we're energy, and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. But somehow there's a consciousness, and somehow there's an energy. So I believe we came from somewhere prior. There's a term from the LDS doctrine called the premortal existence, where we lived as spirits. And so we lived before. And maybe I also have studied Buddhism extensively from my martial arts backgrounds, and they have a process where they believe in a reincarnation, where we live and we continue to evolve. And so both those two different spiritual ideologies have an idea of we were somewhere, we are here, and we might go somewhere else again. And so along that line, though, we come into this world, and going back to the LDS terminology, is we fall through a veil of forgetfulness. So we download here into this matrix, in this simulation, and we don't remember the game. If we knew all the answers to all the questions, this wouldn't be any fun.
Have you seen those kids that do remember?
Yes.
And then they slowly, as they get older, they forget. But yeah, like, and they're old wise.
And so there are people that sometimes, as they fall through the veil of forgetfulness, maybe or maybe not, didn't get a completely, when you like reboot your computer and clear off all your files, some of their files weren't basically cleaned.
I had a media tell me this, because like some of us are real old souls.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And she was like, you have so many spirit guides. That's why it's hard for you to focus on one thing sometimes. So she said the reason, she's like, are you really good at stuff naturally? And I was like, I am. And she was like, that's from your past lives. So like you've done things in your past lives, and it makes you better at these in this lifetime because you've done it a few times. This is your last go around.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so and I also believe that, so you're an actual piece of your father's sperm and your mother's egg. And that goes back, I don't know how many generations. And so each part of those people, that once again, you're part of their DNA helix code, and that's a zip file.
Which supposedly were capped. If you look at the telomeres in junk DNA, there's more information coming out about that too.
I don't know about that.
Oh yeah, like the whole Anunnaki, and like there used to be 500 years of life, and they capped us off at 120 because we were like, I don't, depending on where you're looking at, that you can go with you.
Yeah, for sure, yeah, for sure. And so we're here now, here in this realm, okay? And on this way through the veil of forgetfulness, we come down and we are given an ego, and the ego is the download. It's the syllabus of all the lessons we need to learn here in this realm. And so I was up there, going back to my soul's contract, and I was getting interviewed. And like, hey, Kasey, how do you want it? I'm like, oh, get it to me. I shouldn't. I wish I maybe would have did it. I said, no, give me the hard run.
Yeah.
Give me it so that I will be taken down and bloodied and drugged through the dirt and hammered, and so I can barely make it back. And they're like, do you really want that? I'm like, no, I give it. I must have done this because this is the way it's been. And so there have been times in my life, and we talked about this prior, where I was like, I think I'm good. And I've fought the pressure my whole life. And sometimes with alcohol, you got a gun, and you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
So I get knocked out, but I get up again.
Yeah.
And so, but those are real things that happen to us. And so, but when we come through that onto the other side, we can start to learn and grow. And then I call it a refiner's fire. And so you cannot take you can't forge a weapon without tempering the steel and hammering it and then quenching it. And it can't, sometimes not all ore and steel make a weapon. And you have to throw that old ore out into the scrap heap pile and that old steel. And so sometimes people can't take that forging, that refining process, and for whatever reasons. And I've been able to keep taking on that forge. And now
you're not holding on to the impurities. You can get rid of
but in order to burn off those impurities, there's a lot of heat. There's a hot flame, and there's a lot of hammering that's done by the refiner. And so now I've come to the term where I now say, I surrender to thy flame and hammer, giving all my trust and faith to thee, my refiner.
I love that.
And it keeps going.
Yeah.
But that gets a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
So that's the start of it. So, but by
your mantra.
Yes, that's part of my, yeah. I have a daily mantra that I say every day. and it's part of my morning routine and when I'm driving before I listen to the radio out loud, I say my mantra.
You got to bring it into existence, right?
And so my words are spells. We work magic. Abra cadabra. Now, abracadabra is not the little silly. Abracadabra in the old Aramaic and Hebrew is I create as I speak. And so going back to the ego, we also have different chakras. And so going with my spiritual thing is when I first started resting in a Malasan pose, I was tapping in and opening up my root chakra. And with that, I learned humility. And I was humbled by the refiner. And so that was kind of the beginning of like, I'm going through a spiritual journey. I call it a Mayan rising. Your Mayan is an old Anglo-Saxon term, which is like your mana. It's your chi, it's your life force. And so as we come through the veil of forgetfulness, though, we still bring our Mayan. We still bring our karma from our previous incarnations. And so I've been able to realize that through all my journeys and all my rides, that somewhere deep inside me is a strong Mayan. And I tapped into that. And it keeps me here, and it's a creative force. And so your Mayan is also part of your sexual drive, your sexual essence, and that's a sacred power that the Father gave us to perpetuate our genes, to be able to generate new life. And you can take that energy, that Maya, and you can use it to create. You can use it to train. You can use it to transcend your ego and transmute your sexual energy, which I call Maya. And so it's such a fun ride. And with that, going through the refining process, tapping into my Mayan and channeling that energy, I've been able to come up with a HUNKERIN stool. And with that, I've been able to reverse engineer all the damage I've done in my body over the years. And here we are, baby.
100%, man.
Just kicking ass, taking names.
And I just recently heard somebody talk about like a philosophy based subject of we have the blue collared and the white collared workers, and as you fall in between one or the other, or you are one or the other. And we're very blue collared originally, very Britty individuals. And one of the things he said is like some of the white collar workers, and it happens too when you become an entrepreneur. That's when you tap back into martial arts and different things. You have to, we all got Damien, especially us. And it talks about what's the term? I just lost it. It's having a healthy relationship with danger. Some people don't understand that. Like they never worked with tools. They've never been in a wrestling room. So they only understand like sanitizing their hands and going to the store. So it's like very computer based or whatever that is. Like they don't understand like what a bandsaw does. They've never been in front of something that can cut their hand off. They've never actually
Bro, Bill's like, you'll saw my thigh.
Exactly. So and I really love it. It gave me a really good perception of like, oh yeah, we're as men and providers and these things, a lot of us are looking for a healthy relationship with danger, but a lot of us also like to surf into the chaos. So it's like for you, it's finding that again, and now you have this balance. Now you're the provider, the creator, and you still get to play with destruction a little bit, right?
Oh yeah. Well, it's like so going back to FitCon is when we decided to go for the HUNKERIN stool. It's like I also like to gamble. I'm an extremist. So I love to gamble. I love to party. I love to fight. I love it all.
Yeah.
So
Listen, that CTE lifestyle.
Oh yeah. I like I like dopamine.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It ain't produced naturally.
Yeah. It is funny. I couldn't even take caffeine until I was in my mid-30s. Because if I would drink a caffeinated beverage, I would literally be taking off my shirt and doing cartwheels through here right now. When I was young and that. Now that I'm in my late 40s, I'm 49, and I drink caffeine, and I'm like, I think I can run through that wall.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I probably will run through that wall. And so my wife's like, "Nah, dude, you took caffeine too late today." I'm like, "Let's go." And then she has three little kids, and sometimes our energies don't sync up, when I'm all berserker.
Mm.
So yeah, man, it's such a fun ride. But yeah, that relationship with danger and the chaos, and then being able to, once again, when I was talking about MMA, and then the the quick first explosiveness versus the setting up the move, and that balance, going back to yin and yang.
Mhm.
And so the beautiful thing too, and one of the reasons why I'm here with the Hunkers, so is my wife, I call her a Valkyrie. A Valkyrie in the Old Norse tradition was an angel that would come down and choose the Einherjar, the valiant warriors, and take them to Valhalla to go and feast and fight with Odin. And she's actually picked me up and saved me, my Valkyrie. And she's my yin to my yang. Because I am all checks. Let's go right now.
Yeah.
Get drunk, go to Wendover, and blow all of our money. And she's like, maybe that's not the best idea to do today. And I'm like, what do you mean? And so obviously I've been hit in the head a lot.
Yeah.
And I have no impulse control. Yeah. Well, I've been working on regaining impulse control.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like fire. It's like we run by fire, but we've been using diesel fuel. So like you got to recalibrate, have a little more water, your Valkyrie, and use kerosene so it burns slower. Yes. Don't run out of material. It's like, that's why I always talk about the grind culture. So you grind something over and over again, you run out of material. But if you can learn how to flow, you learn how to be the water source, you can also be the tidal wave, but you can be the creek, you can be the stream. It's because for us, we're grinding material until our thumbs are touching the wire wheel or the grinding wheel.
Yeah, man, I love that water concept of the flow. And so sometimes when you're coming up to resistance, sometimes you don't have to fight through it. You can find a way around it.
It's like yesterday, I was sitting with one of my close friends, and she's, unloading on me, which usually it's the other way around. And she's a very high level lady, and the track practitioner, does a lot of things like in the health, and so she's somebody I could talk to. And I caught myself, and we want to fix things.
Oh yes,
yes. Instead, I just listened. She's not asking me to fix anything. She's just talking.
A great way to.
I was so proud of myself today. Now that I thought of it, because at first I was like, I didn't fix anything. I was like, she didn't need you to fix it. She texted me this morning, like, hey, I love you. Thank you for listening. That's all she needed. And sometimes it's hard for us to understand that, because we're like, but there's not enough diesel and I can't see the flame from 2 blocks away. Whatever. But then, we realize we can still get heat from the smaller fire, especially come out of the ocean, cold water. You need a big fire. We want it, but it burns too fast. You're out of materials in an hour.
And that's what's great about the feminine energy. And once again, like my wife, like she tells me a problem, I want to fix it. I don't want to listen. I'm like, here's a solution. She's like, I don't need your solution, bro. And so that's I was going to comment, as I was trying to listen to you, I wanted to interject because I still have a bad habit of doing that. I'm not a Zen master yet that lives on the top of a mountain, but maybe one day.
It's hard when you're carrying the fucking mound, dude. But it likes this. This is not what's better here. But I was the same way for a long time, and getting into podcasting and doing it more regularly, or on a regular basis, it makes me listen more. And that was something I was overpowering, like in conversations and things like that. I'd be eager. See, you get it. We can be domineering. And it's not because we choose to all the time. It's the way we were created. Football, wrestling, boxing, all these things, you get a lot of big egos, and you're either heard or you're not for a lot of times. But then there's the difference of being the fighter that gets broken down, beat up, destroyed, lose their eyesight, everything else, and being able to turn into the martial artist. And I feel like there's the ego somewhere in between the two. Because Josh Berkman told me one time, I was like, why can't these guys move? They're pro fighters. And he was like, it's because they're a martial artist. I was like, but Justin, you're a martial artist. You're not a fighter anymore. You're not, there's a difference. Some people just fight to fight because they love it. They want the hit. They want the dopamine hit. They want the lure. They want the roar of the crowd. But they're not just doing it to be the best version of themselves. They're trying to do it to be the best fighter.
I love that. That was very poetic and a great transition to go from the fighter, then evolves into the martial artist. And a lot of that comes with the humility of, like, especially as you see your body break down. Like, I could once lift giant stones, and now I can't lift those stones anymore. I used to could run so fast. And now I can't run like that. But with the hunkering, so I can actually run now and jump. There were years now where I walked like an old man, and I'm now able to. I can run after I have a new pup. She's a Great Pyrenees Bash hybrid livestock guardian dog. She's
I was gonna say that's a big.
she's 7 months old and she's probably 80 pounds.
You're getting right around.
You know, I have a 4-year-old son and a 3-year-old son, and she wallops them. And so that they're already trained, by the way. They don't know it. So their first sparring partner is a giant livestock guardian dog that mauls.
That dog sees how big their feet are.
So my boys, the 4-year-old now, I tell her when the dog gets too much to her to, like, you know, slap her on the nose, or she's too aggressive, so punch her on the nose, because he has to be able to handle a giant dog. The dog's bigger than him now, twice his size.
On that dog doesn't know how big it is.
No. It's just the puppy. Yeah. And so he can't just let that dog take control. And so, like, not that I condone hitting animals or beating animals, but we have to be able to teach our children, especially my young warriors. My sons are warriors. I'm raising them to be a warrior physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Are you gonna put your kids in football, do you think? Or are you gonna give them wrestling or gymnastics or anything?
I'm exposing my my boys, and I have a little girl named Sylvie Sky. She's the apple of my eye.
I love that.
I want to expose my boys to everything, and I hope they can find their passion. And whatever their passion is,
That's great. Let them develop.
I'm going to pour diesel, rocket fuel on that, and help them become the best, pursue their passion to whatever they want to do. But I you know, I'm going to let them play football. They have to learn. So my boys are going to eventually have to learn how to wipe their own asses. They have to eventually brush their own teeth. In my house, you have to wrestle. You have to learn how to fight. You have to go to bed. I'm your dad. I'm not your buddy. We can have a great time, but there are certain things. If you're a man, you need to learn how to fight. And if you're a man, you need to learn how to build things and work with your hands.
100%.
And so my boys, they have to learn how to work. They have to learn how to fight, because if they ever want to call themselves men, in my front yard, I have a stone, and it's a 365-pound stone called Ulf. And I take him around to a Viking power challenge in Pleasant Grove for a strongman competition every year. And so in the old Norse and the old traditions where my ancestors come from the cold, wet, dark north, the Europeans, they had stones of strength, manhood stones. And so the term is full styrker. If you can lift up a 340-pound stone and carry it, you're considered full strength, full styrker. So Ulf is my stone that some guy went up in the mountains, pulled out of the mountains, rolled it down the hill, put it in the back of his truck, and now Ulf lives in my front yard. Maybe that's why I haven't bet this.
And then here's me over here like, I wonder if I could pick it up.
You could. I could teach you how to do
I
it.
was going to say, because my deadlift's about 575,
There you go.
but
But the Ulf has no handles, and it's a giant slab,
yeah.
a triangle rock. And so my boys have to pick up Ulf and carry it, and they have to beat me in a fight. There you now, man.
I love it.
And like, I'll be old by then, and but they still got to beat me, and not beat me like they're not beating me out of anger, no, or to try to dominate me.
Yeah.
But they have to have the skills, and the conditioning, and the strength, and the technique, and the tenacity, and the heart to perpetuate my genes into the next generation. They got to come and fight the old lion. And I hope they kick my ass. In all my fights, I never got knocked out, and I never broke my nose. And so if my boys break my nose or knock me out, I'll have a great time on my way to the expo. But I'm still tough.
No, dude,
I'm still tough.
that's not the worst person in the group I want to.
Yeah. So they got to come and get some.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to come get.
Dude, no, I love that. And that's honestly, that's what I do with my nephews. And they're in Arkansas now, on the farm, out of California. I'm super pumped for them. Different environment, they're loving it. But it's the same concept. Luckily, they have my uncle, which was an Army Ranger, and like a black belt in real Kung Fu. Like, even though I was doing all the MMA, I know there's the Krav Magas and the blah, blah, blahs, whatever. He was, like, I tried to shoot on him, and he could do it. So he was like a combination. It was very, like, technical fighting style of kung fu, and I was like, oh, there is real. Like that's why I can't poke fun at some of those.
Well, Leona Machida is a karate guy.
Yeah,
And so is
Thompson.
Steve Wonderboy Thompson. GSP had a background in
Huge.
in karate.
There's a reason why those things are around.
And
Very technical.
There's truth in all forms.
It's the individual too, right? The way you are, because yeah, I'm from he came from a very he went overseas, went to Panama. Did all these, like he's special forces, and then he learns the thing.
Yeah.
I think it's different.
And so there you just have to. But then I seek after all truth
Mm-hmm.
and enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say sambo, judo, and it's great that you're able to pull a guard. But if you don't know a teep or a jab or a low calf kick, like you need to learn how to strike to help with the jiu-jitsu. And so it just never stops, man.
Mm.
And then you need to carry your knife.
Yep.
But then a knife beats a gun in the 20-foot rule. Not going to go into all that. And so it just never stops, baby.
No, 100%. You got to be ready for anything.
Oh, yeah.
And with the same thing, if them out there, not only was I read books on how to be a better father, I'm not a dad yet, because and there's a book, I don't know if you ever read The Power of Now.
I have.
Eckhart Tolle. Have you read this third book? The third book is the New Earth, or listen to it. So that one talks about one, and you already reiterated it without even maybe reading it. One of the things that blew my mind in my 20s, and this is my third time finishing it, but it'll be done with today. And he talks about like not raising your kids through your ego, through things that you never accomplished. Don't make your kid the thing that you never were. Let your kid become what your kid needs to become. Mm-hmm. And that ever since then, it like sits. But then the same with my nephews. If one doesn't want to wrestle, then cool. But my one nephew's 10. He's redhead, ginger. He's not quite the tallest guy in the world. His dad's not very tall. His mom, he could be maybe. I'm guessing he's gonna be like 5'8" or 5'9". He shot a single leg on me when I wasn't paying attention. He almost got me down. And his punches took the wind out of me. Just right down the pipe. Boom! Hit me with the right. I'm like, yes. Then all day I just wrestle with them. Whatever they want. Those kind of things. They need it. You need it.
The boys need wrestling.
Especially in this day and age. But we have it. There's so much tribalism as humans, and there's so much mental illness in the world right now. And I think it's a bell curve. We have these more masculine men coming around, but if you look at, we just have this weird, and it worries me that we're going to have another Rome. We have this weird, like if you look at what happened to Rome, there's like a whole identity crisis on like a spiritual levels, physical levels, and everybody's confused on where they want to go and gendered, all these things. Teach your own. Like, if you're not hurting anybody or kids or anything like that, I support it. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's freedom of America.
Yeah.
I will back you up.
Yeah.
But there's the tribalism on both sides of politics and religion and all these things. The number one thing we need to do is create strong individuals, men and women. And I'm sure you're white too. You don't have some lady that's fragile. You can't. I'm not a fragile women type of guy. Like, I like a girl that can still wrestle around or whatever she wants to.
I like what Joe Rogan says. I like a wife that can move a couch.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, they can like. I mean, she doesn't necessarily have to fold clothes with people in them.
Yeah. But I mean, like, yeah. So my boys are giving her a run for her money.
Dirty hands,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, it's so funny you say that. So we live in the foothills in a town called Pleasant Grove, in Utah County. But my mom and dad my mom's family is from a place called Sanpete County. And so our goal is eventually, as my boys are getting a little bit older, we're trying to keep moving a little bit more hunkering stools and to sell the house we live in now. And we want to go down to Sanpete County and do a little homestead.
100%.
And so right now I'm already practicing. Right now we have chickens. My wife runs a garden. I have my 2 dogs. And I've planted a little front orchard in my front yard.
That's great.
And so we're already practicing. And
talk about Zen, right? If you look at the Book of Five Rings,
yeah, there was also a shop. Yep.
You have to be the painter, the gardener, and then be able to do multiple things. But you're a jack of all trades. So now you're getting your water.
It's better to be a warrior in a gardener in a garden than a gardener in the war.
Exactly.
And so that's it, baby. And then you will never eat a better peach than a peach that grow on your tree in your front yard. I have a giant Viking cauldron fire pit in my front yard, and I hang out there on my hungry stool, watch the sunset, watch my boys mucking about, fighting, wrestling, and I eat a peach that I grew in my front yard, and that is gratitude. 100%. That is 110% gratitude. Gratitude will never run out, and greed will never be satisfied.
Nope.
Same spectrum, same line. And so
Hermetic principles.
Yeah.
Is above is so below.
There you go. And so the fact that, so I'm living, I found through humility, I've been able to start working on opening up my chakras, come up to where I need to be. And I found gratitude, which is your heart chakra. And once you can start tapping into your heart chakras, it pulls up all your energy from your lower chakras all the way up to your crown chakra. And that's the connection to God.
100%. It's like the energy feels. And then you look at like the layers of consciousness, like it talks about with Kabbalion. It's like 26 layers or whatever. And you have to be able to elevate. Same with like alpha and stuff like that. Lowers your vibrational frequency. And then you're in a room full of lost souls and you're on a ship going nowhere. You're just in the middle of the ocean.
I the best part from being in a place where I once used alcohol as an escape. I was not confronting the hammer. I was running away from the refining.
Or you're using a freaking like a finishing hammer instead of your forging hammers.
Yeah, right. Now that's why I went back from my mantra is I surrender to thy flaming hammer, giving all my trust and faith to be my refiner. And so that's where we're at, baby. Going for it.
Dude, I love that. So I was interested in your theory. What do you think's missing in men today? And it does all. And what do you see and have hope for with your children, and maybe where we're going?
So here, that's a loaded question. Strong men create soft times. Soft times create soft men. Soft men create hard times. And I think the hard times are coming. The pendulum swings back and forth. And you mentioned Rome previously, every civilization reaches a pinnacle. It's about 250 years. We hit it. And so to what end, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do know that the divine masculine has a role, and it's to be able to fight and protect and to feed and take care of your family, to be the provider. And so now way things are going, there's been a blending of the genders where women are told they need to go and work, and men don't want to be masculine. You don't want to be toxic whoever came up with toxic. I am toxic masculinity. Like you know what I mean? Like everything I do it would be considered toxic masculinity.
I realize I thought the same thing, but I feel like maybe there was a time, but now I think toxic masculinity, if I had the actual pocket toxic personality traits, are these motherfuckers that are, it could be multiple levels of this. It's jack dudes, they shave their legs, they do all these things, and they're super mean and brutal to women. They make fun of people, and they're, you know what I mean? Like there's a difference there. I know what it means.
So that term of a toxic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get what you mean, but about
where it's a bully mentality.
And I think that gets wrapped up into men just being men.
Okay, well then maybe let's stay away from the term toxic masculinity.
No, I'm throwing that out there.
I love it.
I'm just saying my version of that is that's what that is. No, I want you to talk about your version of what you are. I'm just saying that for the realm of like, that's where I want it to stay, is those kind of men. Those guys are toxic, and that is not masculinity.
No.
Because if you're a provider, you're a protector, you treat people with respect, and you earn respect, or you can demand it. I get that too.
Respect everyone but fear no one.
Yeah, exactly.
But have a plan to murder everybody.
Exactly.
And escape.
Yeah, and bag yourself into a corner,
right? And in order to make it to Valhalla, you have to die valiantly with either an axe or a sword in your hand. So worst case scenario, I got a popping knife.
There you go. right before you're like,
So hopefully I can still make it to Valhalla one day. But yeah, so the true term of masculinity though is there is a reason why, we used to have to go into a clan or a tribe and go to war to protect our loved ones at home. Because if the raiders came and they stole all of our food, then my babies starve. We don't live like that today.
well, yeah, it's because guys that look like you came from the ships.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so, but we still have that same war going on. And now I don't fight a shield wall, which I would love to. I'd love to see how it hold up in the shield wall. But I have spiritual war and mental war, and it's not to be controlled or subdued or be brainwashed and manipulated by people who are in so-called power, and then they try to dictate that, the whole idea of like we've been looking at each other in our eyes for most of this podcast. We talked about previous things today. People are changing their posture. I was in the sauna at the gym and everybody was on their phone with their head bent over, horrible posture. The hunkering stool will help you with your posture, by the way. And so we've lost this. We are now sucked into the matrix, and that's taking away all the you see these little boys, and they spend so much time playing computer games, where the ultimate computer game is outside. And so,
Did you ever see that reel that I posted from one of the first podcasts? I actually talked about. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
So I was 18, 19. I was this is almost word for word. I was a degenerate in my own right, and I was smoking weed, do all these things, and I was playing these video games, and I just had this idea. I'm like, if you spend as much time as you did doing this, you could actually get in those attributes. You could become the character you want to.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
It's like these kids playing Rock Band and things like that with a fake guitar, and in the same amount of time, they could read.
So there's NPCs or main characters, and so I just want to raise my boys as main characters, where that they can then gain the tools and the wherewithal and the confidence.
I tell my clients too is help you forge the tools. I'm not always going to be there to hold your hand. You count your reps. I'll be here to guide you through the movements, but you're helping them forge their tools. They have the sword.
Yeah, I love that. Help them forge the tools, and it's a fun journey. I don't know all the answers, but I have the humility to ask for help from my Heavenly Father and keep swinging my hammer.
Yeah, we don't have all the answers, but we definitely know what we tell the kids. Well, we probably wouldn't do that, and this is why. Really good at running our heads into the.
Even with now training, I said this really is I don't know what to do, but I know what not to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So here we go.
And now you're moving well. Wow, you're flowing. And then so in closing,
yes,
I'll ask, and you can look directly into the camera. And so what this will be is based on advice.
Doing a camera today.
Yeah, no worries. And advice for the guests, 3 things just off the top of your head. What is 3 pieces of advice that you'd like to give the guests that they can take home, that they can live through their life? I mean, we gave them a bunch of tidbits throughout the podcast, but
3 pieces of advice to give the guests. Number 1 is find your passion. Find your passion. And maybe you cannot make money with your passion, but find your passion and chase it with all your heart, might, mind, and magic. Chase down your passion. Number 2 is test yourself.
trial by fire, right?
What?
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire. Find a way to test yourself. Mentally, spiritually, physically, and find where your limits are. And we never know where our limits are until they're tested.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're here, is to learn and to grow. So test yourself and find your limits. And I want to say 3.5.
We're here for it.
Find a spiritual connection. This should have been number 1, by the way. I call him my eternal Father. God. I call him God, my God. Oh God, my eternal Father. My eternal Father. Find your God or your version of God. And then last but not least, stop sitting, and start hunkering.
Woo! All right. Thank you for listening. This is Just in Our Minds. Remember, get out of your head, get into your heart, and find your purpose.
Thank you, Justin. I love your brother.
Love you too.